Hi everyone, I'm Christy. I'm a knitting designer and I just finished this sweater. So let's talk about it. And at the same time, we're going to talk about this book, Viking Knits, which is where I got this pattern from. So, first off, this is not the only sweater that I have knit from this book. Actually, I've knit 3. So, I have knit let's see, this is the Sina sweater. This one is, I believe, called the Three Swords sweater. And this is Fiaba. Sorry, this is the Fiaba sweater. Each one of them I did a little bit differently. I think by far this most recent one, has turned out the best. But before we do get into the sweater knitting portion of this, let's talk about this book. What is Viking Knits? So, Viking Knits is a book of knitting patterns that says it is quietly beautiful Scandinavian style, which I do find to be true. These patterns are really beautiful. They have gorgeous, classy, sleek lines to them, and the color work, which is my favorite thing, is gorgeous. Obviously, I like color work. Who wrote this book, though? Because it's got this beautiful man on the cover, and it says Lasse L. Matberg. And this man on the cover is Lasse, but he is not the one who wrote these patterns. So who is Lasse? He is a former Norwegian Royal Navy lieutenant. And from both the back of the book and what I could glean online, he has been a chef, he's been a fitness instructor, but what really made him famous was his iconic look for looking like a Viking. And he's gotten really popular online, like on Instagram. Right now, he has about 600,000 followers on Instagram, but he hasn't posted online for a while, like since I think November of last year. So I don't know that he's terribly active right now in the year of our Lord 2026, but he at least got his popularity that way. So he did a collaboration with Strickemecca and Berlin Design. Lasse is the model in a lot of these pictures with some other models as well. Look, this is this sweater. But the actual designers are Berlin Designs. And I was able to find their Instagram. And on their Instagram, let me quote it, they say, two ladies who design hand knitted garments for Norwegian businesses. So their Instagram account has basically what I would call their portfolio, with a lot of examples of their designs. Really beautiful, really similar in vibe to the designs that are in this book. I would say those are definitely the designers. Now let's come back to Strickemecca, because they are mentioned as being collaboration in this book and also in all of the promotional material that Lasse did for this book. So Strickemecca is a yarn company. They specialize in knitting, according to their website, and they sell other things like kits and patterns and supplies, knitting needles, anything that you need to knit. And importantly, all of the designs in this book require yarns that Strikomeka carries. And that's where the story of these sweaters kind of starts. Well, the story really starts with me buying this book in Michael's, but that's not as interesting. So, the yarn, this was the first one, this red one. The yarn for this sweater and all of these sweaters is Gangarn Sky, which is an alpaca blend. It's alpaca, mostly baby alpaca, with some acrylic pretty much in it. And I tried to find a retailer in the US that would sell me this yarn because Strikomeka, their website is in Norwegian. I am a monolingual American. I speak English. I'm very sad to say that I don't speak any other languages, and I definitely don't speak Norwegian. So, because their website is only in Norwegian, I tried to find somewhere else to get this yarn and was very unsuccessful. So, I looked for some sort of, you know, alternative, and Strikomeka was, at least when I first bought this yarn, it was the most affordable option. For example, and these are today's numbers, or really yesterday's numbers because I was writing things down yesterday. But currently, Gangarn Sky is on sale for 66 Norwegian krone, which translates to about $7.15 USD, which I don't know how that translates to other. You can look it up. And that's for a 50-gram ball. A similar yarn on Webs, I'm just using Webs as an example. You could talk about other places, but Webs is, let's say, Rowan alpaca for $8 USD for a 25-gram ball, so half the size. So, you throw the shipping in there, and when I got these originally, tariffs weren't as much of an issue. At this point, it might be a wash, but at least I knew that Gangarn Sky was going to be the yarn that this was meant to be made with. So I went ahead and got that. Now, is it worth it for you to order from Strikomeka if you're an American? I think so. I think that using your browser's translate option, if you don't speak Norwegian, is worth the hassle for this absolutely luxurious yarn. It's so soft, and I love it so much. If you're Norwegian, obviously, Strikomeka is probably your go-to. But there is something to be said about getting from there. If you're an American, I would love for them to make a English-facing version of their website. But that is just my own selfish dream. So what about the patterns? The patterns that I have knit specifically. And also the other patterns in here so that you know whether you want to buy this. And I have some opinions. I think they're classy. I think they're beautiful. I think that the color work motifs in these different patterns, stunning. I love them. But I do have some complaints. Now, do keep in mind that some of this is very likely to be a cultural difference in knitting styles, in knitting pattern writing styles, because the modern, particularly American modern, style of knitting patterns is not the same as vintage knitting patterns. This is a lot more similar to vintage knitting patterns, and one of those reasons is because it's a physical book. They only have so much space, and they want to give you as many patterns as possible in the space that they have. So if you take a look at this, it's formatted a little bit differently. We're not going to show you that for too long because you're not getting free content here. It's a little bit differently formatted than, say, something you got off of Ravelry, because they only have so much space. So it's more in paragraphs. But the thing that I really have more opinions about is the construction of these sweaters. They're, at least as many as I've looked at, have been from the bottom up. And I found out with this one that I don't prefer that. And one of the things that ended up happening with this one is that real long body. Can't even see me. Real long body. And this one is for my fiance, so it is not my size, but it's long for him too. And I think the sleeves are long on him too. So that's one thing. They're almost all, as far as I know, bottom up sweaters. That's some people's vibe. It is not my vibe. So when I made these two, I modified both of them to be top down, just because I did not like the bottom up. The other thing is the measurements are kind of limited. So like they have from extra small to 2XL for most of these patterns, which is fine. I'm not expecting them to have a huge size range. But my biggest complaint there with the measurements is they don't tell you the ease. So for instance, with this sweater that I just made, I made a larger size because this one goes up to a 2XL, and they tell you the garment measurements, the chest, the length, and the sleeve length, and the chest is 52.25 inches. Now, you can tell me in the comments whether you think what ease you think that this sweater is supposed to have, because I went for 4. I was like, that's definitely not a negative ease sweater, so maybe it's like 2 to 4 inches. So I'm gonna go for 4 because I know that I knit tight, and I did knit this tightly, even though I tried not to. So that would mean that if you've got a 52-inch chest measurement sweater, that it only fits up to a bust 48. We're not a 48 bust in this house. So the first modification I made to this sweater, it's top down. The second modification that I made, it's got a lot more increases in here. Sorry if I hit my mic. A lot more increases in here than originally called for in the pattern, because we are not a 48 bust in this house. So I did modify the pattern a little bit towards the tips of these spikes in order to accommodate those extra increases. So I was knitting along happily, and I realized around here that I was running out of green yarn. And it's supposed to be green all the way to the bottom. You can imagine how that might look. It would be beautiful. Strikameka discontinued this green, which is a real shame. It's a very pretty green. So I just kind of did that initial pattern, but in reverse, with a few with a few tweaks, just a little riff on it, so that I could end with white because I got plenty of this white. What did I personally learn from this sweater? Number one, I did some neck shaping. This is actually the back of the sweater that you're seeing. This is the front. So I did some neck shaping along here. I could have done probably at least 2 rows more neck shaping. So next time that I add in neck shaping, because none of these patterns had neck shaping, next time I add in neck shaping, I won't be shy about adding just a little bit more, just to get that fit real nice. And then the other thing is, I don't know if you can see it. I can definitely see it. I don't know if you can see it. This sections that don't have any color work are rippling. And don't get me wrong, it still looks nice. And I'm not going to go back and undo this entire sweater to fix the rippling. And certainly the blocking helped it. But next time, I really need to change needle sizes between the straight stockinette and the stranded colorwork to avoid that rippling. Otherwise, it turned out really nice. Last thing, should you get this book? Can I recommend this book? If you are an advanced knitter or you're used to vintage patterns or patterns that don't hold your hand, that don't give you lots of instructions, absolutely. I think that if you're used to modifying your patterns, used to adding your neck shaping, used to sizing up if you need a larger size, used to telling how much ease something needs just by looking at the picture of the model, yeah, I think that the color charts alone are worth it. But if you are a beginner or intermediate knitter, if this is your first, second, third sweater that you've ever knit, I don't think it's worth it. It would be very frustrating for a new knitter to pick up this book and get into these patterns and hope that you're going to get exactly what's in the picture, because you're not. You have to do some modifications in order to get these sweaters to fit as nicely on you, the knitter, as it does on these models. So that is all from me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed researching for it, and I greatly enjoyed knitting this sweater. If you would like to see more of my projects, more of me, subscribe, because I'm gonna make some more videos. This is my first video of this type, and I want to do more. I lost my little phone. I hope that didn't result in the most awful sound ever at some point. We're gonna see. This is my first time using this microphone, and I obviously was holding up my sweater a lot. Bonus content, if you stayed to the end. This is my current project. As I said, I am a knitting designer, and this is my current design that I'm working on. It is a double knit colorwork scarf. If you're interested in this pattern, you better stick around.